She had never watched The Godfather, so we had to go and watch that together.
Man, can I tell you, I still have not seen those movies. And it's one of those things where it's like, I know I need to. I know I need to. It's just, I look at them and they're like so long, and I'm like, I know
I
I need
know,
to.
but it's like it's worth it. All that length of the movie, there's nothing that needs to be cut down. Like it's well edited, I would say. Like and you know how hard it was to like shoot a scene back then? Like you couldn't just like they didn't have the technology that we have today. Like they had to do it like usually like in limited scenes. Like they had to get it right, pretty quickly. And
Right.
the cameras and everything, like I don't know, it's just from what I understood, like it was a hard task, but like they were really it's well done, man. And we're still gonna watch the second Godfather, Godfather 2. Don't watch the third one. Do yourself. Don't ever watch the third one.
I was just going to ask your opinion on the third one because I know it's controversial where a lot of people think it's trash, but then I've heard other people be like, well, it's not as bad as people make it out to be.
I mean, when you're used to the franchise being what it was, like then it is bad. Like it's a huge deviation from like what you're used to in The Godfather. So yeah, I
Hey,
mean,
I'm curious because I know a couple years ago they actually like did a different like cut of Godfather 3. I think they called it like Godfather 3 Coda or something.
mhm.
Did you watch that cut by chance?
I haven't heard of it. No,
Yeah, they recut it, and I was just like, dude, I was just wondering, like, do people like that cut better or whatever, you know?
I mean, you could only go up from there. So I'm sure it was better than what it was. Like it was, yeah.
Well, I've heard the criticism that, like, Francis Ford Coppola put his daughter Sophia Coppola as she was like a child at the time or something, like a young actress in the movie, and like apparently she wasn't a very good actress. She went on to be like a well known director, but like
I,
apparently like
I don't think
her
she was
acting
a
wasn't great.
child. She wasn't a child. I think she was.
Oh, okay.
I think she was like Michael and Sonny's sister. So she was like the daughter of Don Corleone.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. And oh my god, yeah, she stands out. She's like a sore thumb in that movie. She's ridiculous. Like she's over the top and just like we were laughing at her. Like when we saw her scene, like you don't even have to like mention how bad she is. Like everybody picks up on it immediately. Like she takes over the scene in a bad way.
you know, did you know that like Nicolas Cage is actually a Coppola? I think he's like the nephew of Francis Ford Coppola, but
I
like
heard about that.
he
Yeah,
like changed his name to Cage to like differentiate himself or whatever.
which is wild because I mean, like you know, if he wanted to go the nepotism route, I think you would go with Coppola.
I mean, maybe he wanted to prove he could like make it by himself without the name or whatever. I don't know.
I mean, that's what I would assume. Yeah, good for him.
There's other famous people that are Coppolas too, or related to that family.
Okay, yeah, I don't know many of them though. Yeah. But it's like so this movie is set in like the 1940s, and like all the settings look so good. Like the cars, everything. Like it really, you do buy into it for the most part. Um, and it's cool to see that time period and like so here's what I understand. The book that was written based on was I think the mob had to like be involved in that, or maybe it was the movie. I'm not sure which one. I think it was the movie. Like they didn't want Coppola or anybody to make this movie without their own like input on it. Like they wanted to like sign off on this movie. So he got a lot of like real influence from like mobsters and stuff about like how it works and everything.
I guess that's my biggest thing, and probably why I haven't watched these movies. Is I don't know why mob movies have just never done it for me. I've never been fascinated by that culture. Like I've never watched The Sopranos. There's a lot of other like big name like mafia movies that I've never watched. But I probably one of these days I really should watch the Godfather movies just to say that I did.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
You were mentioning though, like, about how shooting things back then must have been stressful. And I got to think, like, just to have to shoot things on film rather than digital,
Mhm.
like, I'm sure shooting any movie is stressful. But to me, that had to add a whole new element. And, like, it's more expensive. You got, like, you know, a
a limited
finite amount,
yeah, yeah, for sure. I think that's what it was. Like that was the hard part with that, like and it's incredible that they can make such something like that. It's a 3-hour movie, like with so many like intricate scenes and like, you know, the dialogue had to be delivered a certain way. And I think the studio really didn't want Al Pacino to play Michael Corleone in that movie. But like I think it was Coppola who really wanted him and I mean, perfect fit. Yeah.
I think Coppola, like, he has some movie that's coming out maybe like this year or something, but apparently, like, it's. I think he had to like fund it, you know, like it's independently produced, and he had to get like funding himself. But like, apparently, like, it's a very expensive movie, and like, I don't know if it'll pay off or not.
Man, I didn't know he was still alive.
Yeah, I think he's up there in age, but yeah, apparently he's got one more movie in him. So
Good for him.
I think he owned like a winery or like a wine business or something that he might have
Oh, I've
like
heard of that. I think I've
like
seen his
he
line.
yeah, I think he might have sold that business just to be able to like, fund. I don't know if it was this film or a different one, but like he has a history of like, taking risks to get movies made, I guess.
I mean, if he got in the wine industry early, then good for him. I know a lot of like actors and everybody like trying to get into wine now, like Aviator and like what was that? The Rock has his own too. Like
Oh, there's
everybody,
a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of celebrities that have their own like alcohol businesses. Yeah, I think like Ryan Reynolds also has
I think
one.
Aviator.
I think George Clooney has one.
Golly,
Actually,
I think Ashton Kutcher might have one.
who knows? It might be up for sale eventually, but I think P Diddy has a pretty successful
Oh,
one as well.
yeah, I bet he does. Yeah, yeah, that might be up for sale for sure.
Or it might just buy him enough good lawyers that he never gets in trouble.
Yeah, but I mean, maybe, yeah, but it's a bad look for that company. They probably want him like out. They probably buy him out or something. I imagine. Like you don't want
Actually,
to do with him.
what's going on with P Diddy? Because I know they raided his homes, but they haven't like actually charged him with anything or arrested him at this point, have they?
I heard that he's running like some sort of sex ring.
I mean,
And
that's what he's accused of, basically. I think some
yeah,
sort of sexual trafficking.
I mean, he's rich enough to like where you think like he might be able to weasel his way out of this, like worm his way out. Like, I mean, the fact that no charges have been pressed and like, I'm sure like whatever was in New York State, if he just like donates, like $50 million to some politicians and the police department or something like that, he's golden probably. So I don't know. We'll see how that works out.
Well, it's like look at Cosby. He did like a couple years in prison or whatever, but eventually got out. And even like right now, like Harvey Weinstein, like his
Oh, his charge
conviction.
got
I What's that?
overturned or something. Like,
Yeah, well, so I think his conviction in New York was overturned, but he was convicted of crimes both in New York and L.A. So like right now he's still in prison, but if he can find a way to overturn the L.A. conviction, he could still presumably get out. And like it totally wouldn't surprise me if that happens.
there's no laws against rich people.
You know that quote of Donald Trump where he was like, I could shoot a man like on Fifth Avenue or whatever and get away. He's
Yeah,
completely right.
yeah, for sure.
I think he's completely right.
But I mean, he said it in a way that like he's so loved and he's so great. But it's more like he has so much power and influence and money that he could do it. That's not something to brag about. It's just a, a corruption within our society.